But where's the link?
Typically, recreation facilities that whole.
Do it again.
Where? Here?
What else would you like to see?
Oh, I need the link. Can you send the link to the site? Can you unplug?
Did you want to log in? Did you want to log in to Twitter and tweet it out now or something?
If you send it to TeamSafe, I'll do that.
Okay.
Just say new link.
Yes. Spray bottles. What else would you like to see in renovations? Somebody tell how to fix a new art and keep that arm with them. Anything else? Last question we want to ask is, what would people say around where we know that these facilities and renovations are successful? What might students say that can tell us these are successful? Yeah, how would we measure? What do you think a student might say? We know we did the right thing for the renovation of spaces. Numbers to the floor. Post-renovation survey. Anything else we might hear from students so we know we be successful?
Did you send it?
All
Oh, I
the
got it.
comments. Great.
Well,
Well, you'll be able to follow along our progress with our Twitter account at UMass. You'll follow along that. You have information here over the course of the next week. We've already done about 2,500 students and staff on campus. The surveys have gone out to over 10,000 students, residents, halls, and some others. So we're getting a lot of feedback. We're ready to wrap that section up, and then we'll come back at different times and share some information through either the Building Foundation Committee or with some of your leadership here on the council. So with that, I'd like to thank the council for the time today and involved in the process. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us. Our next speaker is from War Buses Campaign. Speaker could join us at the podium. If you could just introduce yourself before beginning, and then you'll have 15 minutes for your presentation and for questions from the assembly.
Hello, my name is Magda Perez. I'm an alumni from the University of Michigan. I was here from 2010 to 2012. And I received my master's in social work here. So I was also at this table, I think, in 2011, but I was also out there in 2010, 2012. So I just want to recognize the fact that there's a lot of work that you are doing here at the table, and it's very respectful, and I know how frustrated you can be as students. to be sitting here and have finals, have midterms, have papers that you can work on, but your commitment to this table is very important. And I also want to acknowledge the fact that the students are very dedicated to this issue. All issues are very relevant, locally, nationally, internationally. And so I just want to make sure that everyone knows that. I'm here speaking on behalf of the More Buses campaign. I'm a transit organizer with the More Buses campaign. I think that it's important to have student voice in this campaign. Our work right now is very focused on increasing bus service for Washington County, specifically focusing on Ypsilanti, Ypsi Township, and the city of Ann Arbor. I'm here today to talk a little bit about what our campaign is encompassing, what we need, and what sort of issues you all have with bus service in your area. Students are one of the largest consumers of the bus service in the Ann Arbor area, and it's relevant. I think it's very relevant and personal to a lot of people. I am still in close relationship with students and faculty here on campus, and I know that getting around, getting to the grocery store, getting home safely on the weekends, having a compatible bus service on evenings and weekends when you're studying at night is all very important. And so I would be glad that I was able to come here and talk with you a little bit about what the More Buses campaign is working on. So I gave out a few worksheets and I have a presentation, but this is a combination of people who are able to share that. So I'll kind of go through what documents are, and then I can send out information electronically with the hopes that you all do the same with your networks as representatives of your constituencies. So a little bit about how this campaign came about. The community has been in conversations about increasing and improving bus service for a long time. More recently, this past year, the Ann Arbor Area Transit Authority has been discussing improvements to the bus service more seriously. They unraveled a 5-year plan. You need to get an input from the community. And this 5-year plan consists of route extensions, service hour extensions, weekend extensions, improvements to like having better connectivity from the three communities, and having a stronger core for economic vitality, for making sure people have access to public transportation most of the other communities. So probably, which time do we have? Is anyone doing that? 12 minutes? So this is really important for the community, and it's been evident. We have organizations from all over the county who have signed on as endorsers. Public officials have signed on as endorsers as well. And if you would more or less just out there, you can see who has signed on. All 6 of our county representatives, public officials, have signed on, as well as the 4 mayoral candidates. So it's got a lot of backing and a lot of support. There's a millage that would be 0.7, which adds up to, for the average household, that costs about $100,000. It would cost $35 per year for 5 years, so it's really not that much. But the services are, the improvements are amazing. So on one of the forms that I handed out, there's a map that's not very clear, but I have the schedule, the current schedule list and the proposed schedule changes. That would be improvements. So I think, and to see where there's changes in your route service. The 0.7 mils, like I said, would be $35 a year for 5 years for tax that would be for all 3 communities. And it's maybe that you don't necessarily live here long term, but you're definitely impacted by having better bus service, even if you're planning on leaving. So it's really impactful for students as well. Overall, there are 4% transit service increase for these 3 communities. The millage would generate an approximate amount of $4.3 million for those 3 communities if it were to get passed. The ballot's going to be on, the millage is going to be on the ballot on May 6th of this year, which is 9 weeks away. We're hosting home base. but it's still not enough. So there's a lot of community allowed to this. Some people think that Ann Arbor is paying for all of the free community service, which is not true. All more and educate and also activate the communities to get involved.
I'm sorry to interrupt. I'd just like to ask everybody in the gallery to remain as quiet as possible, just out of respect to our guests. Thank you.
So, some of the work like I said that we're doing is we're canvassing, we're planning on once we get to more, doing more knocking in the community, really using social media as a tool to get the word out. As you know, not a lot of people are listening or answering our calls, so social media, following us on our Facebook page at More Buses, tagging us on our Twitter on your tweets, showing that there are people on these buses, which is at More Buses, Big 6 is our Twitter account. And just getting the word out. We're also looking for folks to share their story about their transit experiences, why transit matters to them, and what impact this village will have. So if you're interested, you can visit morebuses.org, and there's a button where you can click to that on volunteer, and just let them click on what it is you want specifically volunteer for. As we know, students are one of the largest segments of this public transportation service. There's a lot of students that I know personally who are graduate students living on North Campus, and on the weekends and the evenings, getting out to downtown Ann Arbor or getting out to other areas in the community in Washington County. It's a struggle. It's very difficult. So I think that visibility would definitely be improving the quality of lives of students, residents in this area, and the community as a whole. People who are visiting, who are touring, who are coming into the community. I think it will definitely benefit all community. Making sure that people can get to and from regular appointments and that sort of thing is also really important. So now's the time I kind of want to get some information from you to hear what your perspectives are on the bus service, how you feel about public transportation, what are the needs of your constituents, of your members of your community. And after looking at this material, looking at the schedule revisions, what are your thoughts about public transportation and possible enhancements that would be coming?
We also have 2 mics that we just added to the assembly table, so you can just pass it around to whoever wants to speak. Just over the gallery. Are there any comments or questions?
Hi there. First of all, I think this convene is great. As someone who's had to rely on public transportation before, I think it's really important that we options. I kind of have a question about how student government to get the word out about this and to really how to advocate for it. I noticed that on May 2nd is the date that the voting will occur, which happens to be when a lot of students are done with classes and are probably be home or maybe around the area or wherever they may be. How can we get students interested in this issue and in the area to vote on that day?
So if they are registered voters for the 3 communities that will be impacted, so Ann Arbor City Township, they have the opportunity to send an absentee ballot. You can contact the local county clerk's office. There's going to be information specifically on our website at morebuses.org that will give you information to where you go to make sure that you get your absentee ballot and get it in on time. Just to clarify, it's not May 2nd, it's May 6th the vote is going to be happening. No, that's okay. Yes, it's true that students may not be around to help or to vote on it publicly or vote in person. But there's also many students who aren't actually registered to vote here. So, but you still, like I said, you're still impacted. If you want to have a voice, if you want to have a say, you can share your story. Just go to the morebuses.org website. You can help vote bank Monday through Thursday, 5 to 8. There's a little flyer about Monday to Thursday, just at the College Center. here in Ann Arbor. You can help do that, or like I said, you can help get online momentum going and follow messages, tagging us on any more message related activity or tweets.
Could we pass the mic this way? Trustee Kelsey.
Hi, so I actually used the public buses a lot more last year, but I know that for me one of the problems was that I would check online at the routes, and sometimes it would be like a little bit delayed, so I never really knew like when to go. I knew that it was every 7 minutes, so that was actually very reliable. But sometimes when I would check, it would say it'd be like 2 minutes behind, but then it would be like 10, and it would never update. So I was just wondering if maybe the online portion of this would be updated as well, so maybe notifications.
So, just to clarify, we're advocating for this specific campaign. It's working on the increasing and expansion of bus service through the village. It's an organization, a coalition called Partners in Transit, specifically working on transit improvements beyond this village. So they're working on things like getting patients to Domino Farms, our partner organization called WeRock is advocating for those kind of improvements, or like the communication from the ride is not very good. In terms of like technological advancements, I feel like there's ways that they can be improving versus this kind of plain old map. They would be really cool if we had an interactive map that helped us just like get it right over there. So that's this campaign, but definitely partners figure out the route to those issues.
You know, Ann Arbor has an early voting period as well as absentee, or?
No. So, I mean, it's absentee. My understanding, I can confirm. But I think all the communities have the same date, which is May 6th deadline.
Hi, my part of this, what a superfund is, working on transportation issues right now. So also, you might want to reach out to them and work together.
What's it called?
It's the Big Black Energy. Yeah, they're working on transportation.
Oh, really?
It's in Black Community, yeah.
When you talk a lot about expanding transit service in other specific areas, where you want to expand is federal intent between downtown Ann Arbor and between difficulties. So we have a lot of graduate students that don't live directly on campus who have access to the bus service, which may be able to get to allow. Are you looking at improving that service?
I don't think, can you clarify what you're asking? So you're saying within Ann Arbor, or you're saying within just like commuters who come out of town?
Within Ann Arbor, and for example, like Nebraska, costs are much lower, and so we're going to MC in Ann Arbor so that residents can come in on the weekend and stay late.
Yes, exactly. So this is definitely going to improve their lives too, because like for me, I live in Ypsilanti, but I was in the Catholic community from Ypsilanti to Ann Arbor when I was in school, and there were times like with my friends right now, they come hang out with me or visit me in Ypsilanti. A lot of them don't realize the bus stops running at 6. They get stranded on Sunday, and we have to coordinate and figure it out and figure out alternatives. So yes, this will definitely improve folks who are commuting or coming outside into Ann Arbor working for students.
Sorry to interrupt one more time. I know we've had a few people enter since I read out the rules and decorum, but please remain silent throughout the gallery. That includes representatives. Thank you.
Got 1 minute left first, and the question is, are you also working on improving night routing? So the way it's not outsourcing.
This specifically wouldn't have improvements to the network. It would have improvements to Express Drive that goes to Canton. I think there's just a couple other communities that that's going to be going to, and that will be improved. But the night rate services, it's not specifically going to be improved. So thank you for those questions. It's all really relevant and very helpful.
Are there any further questions from these of the time? Okay, thank you. So time is up. Let's try to stop. Okay, so thank you very much for joining us. The next item on the agenda is community concerns. So I took the 10 names that we have speaking, and I've actually just ordered them so they'll be going in reciprocal order. So speaker against, and then for, and against, and we continue like that until time is up. Just a reminder, applause and any speaking out of turn is out of order. We'll have to penalty. Really would like to avoid that, so please just remain silent about community concerns and throughout the rest of the meeting. Okay, so our first speaker is Andrew Cohen, a student here at the University of Michigan, speaking against AR 3-050. So if you could just join us at the podium, you will have 3 minutes to speak and answer questions from the assembly. I'm sorry, are you trying to give out something? Is that the thing on your food, Jacob? Yep, okay, then that's fine. Okay, so you can hand that out. And then once you get to the podium, you'll have 3 minutes to speak. Again, there's no clapping allowed during this or afterwards. And again, all signs need to be at the back of the room as they are obstructing the view of members of the gallery. Okay, so you can begin.
Great, thanks. First of all, I was told to recommend page 5 as a letter to you guys that I think makes our case quite well. My name is Andrew. I'm a sophomore, and I'm involved in J Street here on campus. We are all here this evening out of a solemn concern for the Palestinian Israeli peoples and their livelihood. When we hear reports of more slaughter in the Middle East, we are all shocked and saddened, regardless of the ethnicity or nationality of the deceased. We are united by our mutual recognition that too much blood has been shed on both sides of the human line to justify our continued complacency, and we all believe that something must be done. Unfortunately, we do not agree on what must be done. Despite this contentious disagreement on campus, the two-state solution is the accepted international model for ending the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. Multilateralism is the only way to garner the cooperation and trust necessary for peace. American-led diplomacy and mediation is the only way to end the conflict within a reasonable time frame, and the establishment of the Palestinian state alongside Israel is the only way to guarantee self-determination for both people. For these reasons, the Secretary of State Kerry has spearheaded a diplomatic effort to resolve the conflict, and both parties have agreed to participate in a very promising peace process, which is occurring as we speak. This process is our best chance at peace. I'm speaking here this evening because I believe divestment is a threat to the success of this process. Divestment threatens the peace process because, as a unilateral act, it will lead to distrust and fear between the two parties, making negotiated peace more challenging to achieve. Divestment threatens the success of the peace process by failing to recognize the unprecedented willingness of Israel's center-right government to engage in the peace process overall, driving both Israelis and Palestinians away from diplomacy. Lastly, divestment threatens the success of the peace talks because it demonstrates no commitment to a two-state solution, and in doing so rejects the fundamental right of national self-determination for both parties. Although I am fundamentally opposed to divestment, I am also fundamentally opposed to inaction, a tactic deeply threatening the prospect of peace. Just as I'm concerned with rocket fire from Gaza or settling construction in the West Bank, I am fundamentally opposed to is combating inaction by raising the process and actively campaigning that the United States do all that it can do to resolve the conflict.
Your time has expired. Thank you. The next person speaking for community concerns is Michelle Freed, a student. Oh, actually, I'm sorry, that's not who's next. Nicole Thomas, a student at the University of Michigan. Nicole, you have 3 minutes.
Born in Ramallah, Palestine, growing up, I had very different circumstances based upon me for one reason and one reason only, because I am a Palestinian. In Ramallah, 26-foot walls encircle the city, as the walls split me from my family, my friends, that we in the view of Jerusalem, where literally could almost touch the other side. What hurt me the most was my most frightening memories were there, but none of them was worse than the death of my cousin, whose death I owed to that checkpoint in between Jerusalem and Ramallah. My cousin Rima was diagnosed with cancer in 2010. As a healthy 17-year-old, this came as a huge blow to our family, but especially me, because she was my best friend and my older sister, and she is the reason I'm standing up here today. When Rima was diagnosed with cancer, we were instilled with the idea of hope, an idea that is something so foreign to me as a Palestinian. We had hoped that Rima was going to get the treatment she needed, but there was one catch. Help was at the other side of the checkpoint, and in order to access medical treatment, a permit was needed from the Israeli government. So my aunt applied, and she waited for something no one should have ever wait for: access to medical treatment for her daughter. She cried to my mom in the darkness, as she could visibly see her daughter weakening day by day, and she prayed to God for a miracle. On November 11th, my cousin passed away from cancer that she could have had the treatment for. And on November 15th, 4 days later, the permit arrived at her house. So the truth is hard to explain. I have never felt more helpless in my life. I screamed and kicked and wanted so bad to know that maybe if I wasn't a Palestinian, this wouldn't have happened. And maybe if it weren't the subject of discrimination that these checkpoints promote, then just maybe she could have gotten the help that she needed. And that maybe if I had more hope, I would get to see her one more time. But this is something that happens all the time, and it was part of our existence as Palestinians. My mom would always say, as she wiped the tears from my face time and time again, but that excuse doesn't work for me anymore. And it doesn't work for any of us in this room who believe in equal human rights for all. As a student, I am embarrassed to go to school at profits from these companies that have torn apart my families with their walls going higher and further. The type of discrimination that wouldn't allow me to get the medical treatment she so badly needed. And the caterpillars that have demolished countless homes because we are at the mercy of the pressure every day of our lives. University of Michigan is kind and fully self-responsible. Stay to the talk and don't tell me you know how it feels. But tell me one thing, that you will use this chance that we are giving you to wash the blood of my cousin off of your hands. Whatever happens tonight, I know in my heart, with the hope that I do have left, that Rima's death is not in vain, and we will never, as Palestinian people, be silenced. Thank you.
Thank you. Again, there's no applause. There's no applause. You will be removed from the room, I'm sorry. Okay, next speaker for community concerns is Michelle Freed, student speaking against AR3-050. She's a student at the University of Michigan. Michelle, you have 3 minutes.
My Jewish values, my belief in social justice, and my feelings about Israel are all intertwined. I believe it is because of Jewish values such as repairing the world, pursuit of justice, and many more, that I feel so deeply rooted in social justice. It's the combination of these values, my people's history, and my social justice beliefs that influence my feelings about the state of Israel. My feelings about Israel include love and criticism, pride and disappointment. I'm critical of many of the decisions the current government has made concerning settlement building, socioeconomic status divides, and issues concerning refugees. But I'm also so proud of Israel's expression of LGBTQ rights, commitment to sustainability, and secular gender equality. I believe in and am committed to building Israel into a light unto the nations held to a high standard of Jewish democracy, which includes justice for the Palestinian people. It is also for these reasons that I oppose to BDS and the resolution calling for divestment of Israeli companies proposed to the Central State government. BDS is a one-sided tactic that strives towards justice for one people without acknowledging other narratives and other efforts towards a sustainable peace process that would ultimately lead to justice of 2 peoples. I'm opposed to BDS because I believe in positive change. I'm opposed to BDS because I believe in working towards collaborative efforts with Palestine and Israel. We can create positive change on our campus with more collaboration, dialogue, and partnership among students invested in this issue. BDS inhibits this opportunity. The recent language on campus, including this resolution, articles in the Daily, mock eviction notices, has been dividing the campus and shutting out dialogue and the opportunity for narratives not only to be told, but to be understood and exchanged. I want to hear more stories and learn more of the lived realities of my fellow students on this campus concerning the issues of Israel crossfire. I believe there should also be a respected place for my narrative in this circle. But when language is used to block dialogue, exchange of multiple narratives, it's hard for me to envision the campus climate I wish to belong to. I want multiple and diverse narratives to come together in peaceful and safe spaces on campus, where all voices have a space and are respected. This polarizing resolution is bringing about just the opposite. I believe we need to continue to strive for acknowledgement, representation, and respect for all of our students on this campus and justice for all citizens of the world. And I believe this includes a space for shared and diverse narratives. Only through such collaborative efforts do I believe we can achieve the deserving peace for two peoples, the deserving states for two peoples, the deserving self-determination for two peoples, and a promising socially just future by two peoples.
Thank you. The next speaker is Makaram El-Jamal, speaking for AR3-050. Makaram is a student at the University of Michigan.
Divestment campaigns are always met with the argument that Israel is a pearl of democracy, a place where all peoples have equal rights. I have never debated the equality of peoples so highly of that use justification to avoid ending their complicity in the violation of human rights. My family lives in Live, nearly 6,000 miles from an ocean away from Maine, but only 15 miles from Tel Aviv. Live isn't in Gaza or the West Bank. It's in the so-called pearl of democracy. When I take the 3-minute drive from my aunt's house to Salon, I'm reminded of the inequality my family continuously faces, how those experiences are being invalidated by claims of Israel's safe haven status. Brand new apartment complexes continuously grow out of the ground. The clean beige colored bricks are starkly contrasted with the rundown buildings standing a few yards away, separated only by a black fence. These nice new buildings are off limits to my family. My Arab Muslim family holds Israeli citizenship, but in name only. Our religion, race, and ethnicity do not allow us to buy one of those apartments. This strategy of keeping Arabs from space in the buildings has effectively moved the center of town farther and farther away from its original location, from the area where the majority of Arabs live. So can you tell me where the equality is in that? This argument that divestment is a bad idea due to Israel's status as a place of equality is not only ridiculous, but insulting. As a discount to frustration and isolation I feel faces on a daily basis. Equality includes equal opportunity to have access to credits, including housing credits. So why is it that the rejection of the building permit is disproportionately in favor of the housing? Why is it that my family got rejection after rejection when applying for a building permit and there's no legitimate reason as to why? So I ask you again, where is the equality in that? How can you ask me to sit by and let my tuition dollars go to the denial of equal rights to my family? How is it okay for me to be funding the demolition of my own family's home? As part of this campus, it is not only my right to make sure that the money I pay to this university is invested ethically, it is also my duty. I want to be able to support the claim that this university is comprised with leaders in the past, but to truly live up to this assertion, one can under every opportunity, divestment is necessary. Not divesting from these companies would make this university a leader, but a leader in the promotion of the violation of human rights, perpetuation of inequality, and disregard for those on its own.
Thank you. Again, no snapping for applause. Next speaker. Okay, this is your warning. First offense. The next speaker is Ben Meisel, speaking against the resolution, and he is a student at the University of Michigan.
In the search for peace, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. said, "Darkness cannot drive out darkness, only light can do that. Hate cannot drive out hate, only love can do that." As a University of Michigan student, an American, and as a Jew, I want nothing more than peace between Palestinians and Israelis. Over Israel's 66-year history, she's been a great friend to the United States. Political leaders from every party support the inalienable relationship between these two great nations. This relationship is built on a foundation of understanding that democracy human rights, and peace are paramount to everything else. President Barack Obama said, as for Israel, our friendship is rooted deeply in shared history and shared values. Our commitment to Israel's security is unshakable, and we will stand against any attempts to single it out for criticism in international forums. Attempting to boycott companies that do business in Israel is not central student government's place. Student leaders from both College Democrats of America and College Republicans National Committee strongly oppose these actions, and the four central student government passed a resolution 3-050. As the National Vice President of College Democrats of America said, I oppose all actions that contribute to boycott, divestment, and sanctions, BDS movement against Israel, including anti-Israel divestment legislation on university campuses. These initiatives delegitimize the rights of Jewish people to self-determination, spread misleading accusations, and undermine current negotiations between Israel and Palestine towards a two-state solution. In addition, to quote our very own Russ Hayes, chairman of our College Republicans chapter, the Israeli-Palestinian conflict is deeply divisive and personal for many of us on this campus, and student government is neither the appropriate forum or vehicle for dealing with such an issue. Therefore, I urge you as representatives of the leaders of the past to follow the wisdom of political leaders, young and old, and vote against Resolution 3050, and in doing so, keep this issue outside of CSG where it has no place. Thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker is Sami Shalabi, speaking, applause is out of order. Speaking for AR3-050, Sami is a student at the University of Michigan. Just wait until the mic is fixed and then we can hear.
Testing, testing.
Sami, you have 3 minutes.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. Just to update everybody in attendance today, earlier tonight, Loyola University passed the state divestment bill with a vote of 26-0-2. I have a quick short story to tell everybody. We were so close. This was nothing new. We had reached this point before, but each time, nothing changed. I could see the mountains over the horizon, and I convinced myself that I could smell the air too. Every time on the way back from the Dead Sea, we would pass by a sign that read, Palestine, 10 kilos away. We were so close to a land we had only heard stories about, and had never seen. As American-born citizens, my brothers and I saw no reason why we couldn't visit the land of our parents and their parents. But behind our oblivious questions was a story that hurt too much to tell. My father left Palestine in 1970. The 6-day war had left my father and his family poor, without jobs, and without a foreseeable future. They had no choice but to follow the footsteps of their uncle, who was teaching here at the University of Michigan. One visa led to another, and finally when it came to my dad's turn, he left. 2 years, he said. 2 years is all we're going to do. We're going to come back, we're going to raise our family back in Palestine. 44 years later, he has not returned. Our house has since been run down and demolished. Our fields of olive trees taken by the neighbors. We have nothing left, was what I grew up hearing from him. But I never bought his excuse. I can see the joy in his eyes when he describes his childhood, filled with stories of mischief and love. He describes it as a perfect upbringing in an imperfect time. I can't blame him though. I am convinced my father tried to give us the same experiences he had as a child. He bought us a condo in Jordan, and every couple of summers we would visit. The strangest part of every trip was when we saw that sign, Palestine, 10 kilos away. It automatically brought about complex emotions, and we didn't know if he was crying or laughing. And just as soon as we thought he was wanting to give in, we'd say, we have nothing left. The occupation didn't just force my family to relocate to Ann Arbor. It instilled permanent emotional scars that can never be amended. I have been robbed of picking pomegranates in late summers and swimming in the Dead Sea from the real side. Meanwhile, my friends in undergrad are always talking about their birthright trips and how they were so happy they reconnected with their ethnic roots. Where's my reconnection? Where's my birthright? The irony is that my father tried so hard to put the past behind him. But some part of him can't. Because every time he pays that tuition statement to this great university, at least some part of it is going to the state that took away his home. Thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker is Dan Harlan, speaking against AR 3-050. Dan is a student at the University of Michigan.
I would like to express my concerns about the resolution introduced last week. I would like to point out that this topic is much more complex than the resolution makes it out to be, and it will not help advance peace and dialogue between both parties. The promotion of BDS, the boycott, divestment, and sanctions movement in this resolution against Israel under the false guise of human rights and social justice for all is not in the defense of the Palestinians as it claims to be. It relies on evidence that does not accurately reflect the realities on the ground. Passing this resolution will not solve anything. Rather, it will only create more tension, both on campus and off. By promoting this resolution, SAFE not only current U.S.-sponsored peace talks between Israelis and Palestinians, but it also hurts the Palestinians themselves. The Palestinian Authority, led by President Mahmoud Abbas, is against the BDS movement. In fact, at a press conference in South Africa in December 2013, Mahmoud Abbas stated, and I quote, "No, we do not support the boycott of Israel. We have relations with Israel. We have mutual recognition of Israel," end quote. Just like any rational supporter of peace and dialogue, the president of the Palestinian Authority understands that Israel is a partner for peace with the Palestinians. Cooperation is crucial, and frankly, President Mahmoud Abbas is a much better representative of the Palestinian people than SAFE or the authors of this resolution. SAFE is selectively choosing who to deem a human rights offender. BDS promotes censorship and intolerance, something that this university cannot and does not stand for. This resolution wants to discourage the dialogue necessary to create peace. The oversimplification of this resolution is very deceiving. What I forgot to mention was that the civil war in Syria has killed and displaced more people in 3 years than the entire Israeli-Palestinian conflict. What I forgot to mention was that more than 60 rockets were launched at Israeli civilians over the course of just 2 days last week. What I forgot to mention was that the valedictorian of this year's medical school class at the Technion University in Haifa, Israel, is an Arab woman. What I forgot to mention was that over the past decade, a rocket has on average been launched at innocent Israeli civilians once every 7 hours. What I forgot to mention were events such as that on May 2nd, 2004, when Palestinian militants murdered a pregnant woman and her 4 young daughters. Amnesty International classified this as a crime against humanity. What I forgot to mention was that during the Second Intifada just a decade ago, thousands of Israelis and Palestinians died. What I forgot to mention was that no party entirely is innocent or guilty. Both parties have done wrong. So why does this resolution not recognize that? What I forgot to mention was the true complexity of this topic. This conflict is cyclical. It cannot be blamed on any one party alone. I tried today to show you that this resolution oversimplifies a very complicated topic. This conflict is not black and white as it's made out to be. Let's expect respect rather than single out.
The time has expired. Thank you. The next speaker is Omar Hassan, speaking for AR 3-050. Omar is a student at the University of Michigan. You have 3 minutes.
Good evening. My name is Omar Hassan, and I'm a sophomore here at the University of Michigan, School of Kinesiology. I'm here today to emphasize the simplicity of Resolution AR 3-050, to request that our CSG representatives stick to the basics when voting. I say this because there will be attempts to convolute the message and even the intentions behind the resolution. You'll hear from many students that this resolution is divisive and that allowing it to pass will mean that the campus community has taken a side. However, this resolution is actually a unifying attempt aimed at pressuring our university that has already taken a side. The end goal of this resolution is to become neutral, because investing in these unjust companies has already fostered a divisive campus community. But I also encourage you to look past the issues of divisiveness to focus on the more important issue of human rights. Simply put, the involvement of these companies has directly led to the death of human beings. Heidelberg's immense contribution to the separation period has become the difference between life and death for Palestinians who are unable to get medical attention in a timely manner. It has also taken away the right of many students, just like you and I, to get to school to receive an education. This is without question enough for me to stand in support for this resolution. But in case it isn't enough for you, let's talk about Caterpillar. Caterpillar's contribution to the destruction of thousands of Palestinian homes has resulted in the murder of Rachel Porter, an American college student, just like you and I. She was ran over protesting the demolition of yet another Palestinian home when she was run over and killed by an American-built Caterpillar bulldozer. Yet, individuals tonight will claim that passing this resolution will hurt their feelings, that will make them feel uncomfortable. Let me be clear. I will not sit silently while another Palestinian child returns from school to find the remains of his home on the ground in front of him, simply because of trying to stop injustice would hurt someone's feelings. Lastly, I would like to address the notion of this resolution is not appropriate for the University of Michigan student government to vote on. By making this claim, you are deeming students powerless and incapable of making real change in the world. You are throwing away the University of Michigan's rich history in standing up for social justice, and the countless times the University of Michigan students have made a global impact on the world. And lastly, by claiming that this resolution is not appropriate for our student government, you are silencing the voices of Palestinians on this campus, like myself, who are unable to express themselves even as it relates to a company that has taken away their lives. Fellow Wolverines, ask yourself this: will you stand for such injustice and allow for such a divisive policy to remain in place? The answer is clear. Stand in support for this resolution and vote yes to that. Thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker, applause is out of order. Okay, that is the second offense. So the chief of staff in the back, he will be identifying who's receiving these penalties. Okay, next speaker is Chris Osborne, speaking against AR 3-050. Chris is a student at the University of Michigan.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. It's going to be a funny assembly again, although I was looking forward to seeing CSG's horrifically tasteless interior decorating again, but Superman has a much better view, so it's fine. Let me be upfront with my views about this resolution. I don't believe CSG should take any stance on the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. The stance holds true regardless of whether this resolution called for a pro-Palestinian stance or a pro-Israeli stance. And yes, I have no personal views on this issue. In my opinion, the only peaceful resolution to the conflict is a two-state solution that offers the same self-determination for both Israelis and Palestinians. PBS initiatives do not want a two-state solution, nor do they offer state self-determination for Israelis. It's true that human rights violations have been committed by entities on both sides of this issue. But just because you don't support everything an entity's leader does, doesn't mean you have to hate that entity. I can support 80% of President George W. Bush's policies. That doesn't mean that I hate the United States of America. CSG should be working to bridge the gap between groups of different ideologies on campus. It should offer its resources as a means to promote an inclusive and connected student body. A student body where persons of all backgrounds and views are respected and welcomed. I'll leave you with this. What unites us as Wolverines is so much stronger than what divides us. Taking a stance in the Israeli-Palestinian conflict will only further divide this campus community. And we must be united to fight the domestic obstacles that face the students' well-being here on campus. I'm talking about the University of Michigan administration, which shown through their actions, or lack thereof, that a football team's performance is higher on our priorities list than the safety of its students. Having CSG take a stance on the Israeli-Palestinian conflict will only divide our student body to segregate communities on our campus. I urge this body to not take a stance on the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. It has no place in student government.
Thank you. The last speaker for community concerns is Andrew Delac, speaking in favor of AR 3-050. He is a student at the University of Michigan. Andrew, you have 3 minutes. Yep, look for when you begin speaking.
Good evening. My name is Andrew Daly. I'm a third-year law student here at the University of Michigan. It's my honor to be in front of this esteemed student government tonight. My fellow students, we all make choices. And when we make those choices, we recognize that some choices are more significant than others. Tonight, you think that your choice is clear. Is before you on this resolution, AR 3-050. But there's another choice embedded within that resolution. An important choice, a significant choice, a choice that not only has implications for people who are not in this room today, but has strong personal implications for every single one of you. Tonight, that choice is simple. Will you stand up in defense of Palestinian self-determination and recognize Palestinians' right to live and have authority over how they will live their lives, or will you remain silent? Now tonight, I can predict with near dead-on accuracy what you are going to hear, maybe until the wee hours of the evening. You're going to hear things like, this is a divisive issue. It will stifle dialogue on campus. And my favorite one, that it will make certain students on this campus feel uncomfortable. Well, the only thing that I have to say to that is standing up in defense of civil rights and equal protection under the law makes students feel uncomfortable, then that is a problem to the students who feel uncomfortable. And they have to dig deep within themselves and wonder why. A conversation about civil rights and equal rights disturbs them. Now, I did a little bit of research, and I found that there was an article not too long ago, shortly after Nelson Mandela's death, in which Davis, California commemorated Nelson Mandela's life. Now, for those of you who don't know anything about Davis, California, it was the first city in the country to divest from apartheid South Africa. And when that resolution went before the city council body, it passed by a very slim margin, 3%. One of the gentlemen who was a council member on that council, Bill Copper, said, "I'm very proud of it," referring to the divestment resolution. People of Davis really stood up and thought about an important issue in the world and did something about it. Tonight, you have that same opportunity. There are hundreds of students here tonight who are here because the question of Palestinian self-determination is their question. Stand up and support them. Thank you.
Okay, that concludes our time for community concerns. The next item on the agenda is executive communications, so I'll turn it over to executive.
Thank you, Megan. Thank you, everyone, for being here tonight. I'm glad we could find a bigger room to accommodate everybody. I appreciate your patience. Everyone can hold you to that. So I wanted to talk a little bit tonight about CSG's budget. I want to talk a little bit tonight about CSG's budget. We have an opportunity here to change it pretty fundamentally for the foreseeable future. So I want to explain a little bit about why that's going to happen. I had a really nice PowerPoint. There's no projector here, so you're going to have to bear with me. It's a little bit data. I think I'll send it out after the meeting tonight. So historically, the Southern Student Government has had a really large carry forward in funds. That's funds that don't go unspent during an academic year, they roll over to next year. That has typically been between $200,000 and $300,000 a year. And in 2012, that carry forward came down significantly. It's come down significantly more, but our carry forward coming into this semester was only $11,000. previously were $200,000 to $300,000. And the reason for that is actually a really good thing. It's because our Student Organization Funding Commission changed their funding process to what is known now as rolling funding. To give you a little bit of background on how rolling funding works. There's an old system where student organizations could apply for money in a semester. And there was only one repeat deadline at the end of the semester. So when a student organization applies for funding, they would be awarded funding, they would have to turn in receipts at the end of the semester. In 2012, we moved to a rolling funding system, where applications were now due in weekly waves, as opposed to the previous 3 cycles per semester. So now there were 11 waves instead of 3 cycles. And there were 3 receipt deadlines per semester, as opposed to just 1 receipt deadline at the end of the semester. So essentially, we took the funding process that used to take place over a semester and condensed it down to about 3 or 4 weeks. So the advantages that we saw from this were that more student organizations could apply more often. You can apply every week for money. You could have more spontaneous funding. If you're a student org, you wouldn't need to plan as far in advance in fact, you could literally plan a week in advance instead of a month in advance to apply for funding from CSG. Our student organization funding commission was able to make more decisions more often over a more spread out timeline. And just in general, it allowed us to serve student organizations better. It resulted in more money actually being given. So, a little compare and contrast between the new system and the old system. Under the old system, we used to have, on average, $1,051,000 requested every year. Under the new system, that is $1,168,000 requested every year. So it's an increase in requests. Under the old system, we were awarding an average of about $328,000 a year. Under the new system, that's up to $447,000 a year. So actually awarding more money to student organizations. Our carry forward has come down from an average of $260,000 a year to now about $11,000, which is good, that's smart, that it's responsible. $260,000 is way too big carry forward. The amount of the money awarded that was actually claimed by student organizations at the receipt deadline under the old system was 65%. Under the new system, we're up to 82%. But the really key statistic here is that of the money initially budgeted to SOFC at the beginning of the semester, under the old system, only 56% of that would actually be claimed by student organizations and dispersed to student organizations. Under the new system, student organizations are claiming and receiving 96% of the budget that is getting SOFC. So it's really working really well. But as a result, it has brought down our carry forward quite a bit. So, to give you an idea of the impact that it's had on CSG's budget just over the last year, in winter 2013, the total amount of revenue from student fees that we had, plus the existing carry forward, was $340,000. This year that came down to 260. This year they came down to $260,000. So we had a 23.4% decrease just in the cash we had sitting in our accounts. As a result, SOFC took a hit. Under the old system, 1 year ago, in winter 2013, SOFC had $157,000 allocated towards it. This year that is down to $120,000. It's a 23.7% decrease in SOFC's budget. Legislative discretionary actually went up a little bit. It was at $12,500, came to $18,575 this year, which is a 49% increase. But it looks like some of that is going to be kicked back to SOFC. And then the executive kind of family of accounts came down from $67,000 last year to about $36,000 this year, so a 47% decrease. So that was mainly done through a reorganization of the commissions, where commissions no longer get budgets. So as a result of our declining carry forward, SOFC has taken a hit, commissions have taken a hit, we found some savings with regards to Airbus and payroll as well. Those were the main things that we had to compensate on. So, when I came into office, I said I want to give more money to student organizations, we're getting less. So I took a look and took what helped out with this, what we would need to do to find an extra $37,265 to get us where we were at just 1 year ago. So we brought executive discretionary down to a minimum. We brought the legislative discretionary down to a minimum. And if we brought CSG sponsored down to a minimum, that would be savings of about $26,000. So even if we brought all of our discretionary accounts and our own internal programming down to as low as we legally could with our compile code, it would still be $11,000 short of last year's SOSI budget. So under the current structure, we can never really get back to previous funding levels for student organizations. And for a lot of student organizations, that's what they know and rely CSG for. So because we have this approved system, it would be nice to be able to push more money out instead of less money out for these student loans. So CSG is funded by a student fee that is $7.19 per student per semester. That has been set at that level since 2005. And $1 of that never touches our accounts. It goes to a graduate child care subsidy. So there is a proposal to raise the CSG fee by $2 to $9.19. This would raise approximately $180,000 in revenue annually for CSG and at least $75,600 in student organization funding. I think taking a look at the budget, we'd probably see closer to $130,000 to $140,000 in student organization funding. So we're talking less than the price of a cup of coffee, $2, would drastically alter the CSG funding. So advantages of a fee increase. Well, first, we can empower student organizations. There will be more money for us to give to student organizations for hold events, to send people on trips and retreats, and really do great service for those orgs who right now are relying on their own numbers paying dues for being monthly. It also gives CSG flexibility in piloting programs to hold events. This assembly this year has spent some money on piloting new programs, helping other organizations hold events, but we have had to cut back where we've been in the past as a result of the increased budget. So those are really the main advantages we would see from a $2 fee increase. Disadvantages. Students will be paying $2 more. For a lower division in-state student, so a freshman, sophomore, in-state student, that is a 0.015% increase in tuition fees. It would increase CSG's budget by 32.3%. The process for raising the fee constitutionally requires first a vote of the student body and then a vote of the Board of Regents. The vote of the student body is going to take place over the next weekend. We need a majority of students to support it in order to move it to the Board of Regents. Interestingly, there's no constitutional mechanism to place this survey or this vote on the ballot. So it's going to have to be done over a qualified survey that will be sent out to the student body. That's a little bit less than ideal, but it's going to work nonetheless. It will constitute a vote of the student body. So my hope is that I can rely on folks here to encourage a yes vote on this. I really think, I run the numbers for the SOSI here, this is going to do a lot to our student organizations on campus. Give CSD a little bit more room, try out some new stuff, and some new events. So again, I will send this out because I threw a lot of detail at you. I apologize if you're not on the director today, but I think I have about 30 seconds for one question. Will this increase the child care subsidy? No, it will not. The question is, will the money go to other legislative bodies? This would be the Senate student government. The other legislative bodies have a different process for assessment of bid. I yield to the speaker. Thank you.
Thank you. The next item on the agenda is the report of the speaker. So first, I would just like to thank everybody who has joined us in the gallery today. We really appreciate your patience with us, having to move rooms. And also thank you very much for being respectful of the rules. Operating procedures are very strict, so thank you for following those. Also to the assembly, I have set up our DP Day team, so if you are interested in volunteering with us on March 29th from about 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. in Detroit, make sure you fill out the form. Registration is still open right now. I'm not sure if it's closing probably soon, so make sure you fill it out really as fast as you can. Okay, so that is the report of the speaker. Next, item on the agenda are the legislative reports. So we have one from Ellie Newman. So Ellie, you can go to the podium for that.
is Ellen, and I am the representative of the School of Kinesiology. First of all, I would like to recognize how great it is to see so many students at our meeting today. With this new resolution on the table, I feel it important that we be educated on the other side of this argument. All we have been hearing about recently is one side of the story, and before voting, we should consider Israel's point of view. The Jews have had a claim to the land west of the Jordan River for over 3,500 years, far predating any of the other inhabitants of the region. In 1947, after 6 million Jews were slaughtered at the hands of Adolf Hitler, the United Nations mandated that Israel would come into existence and divided the country, mandating part for a Jewish state and part for Palestine. The Zionist leadership accepted the plan, while the Palestinian Authority rejected it. The minute that Israel declared itself an independent state in 1948, the surrounding Arab nations declared war, and Palestinian leadership of that time rejected the UN partition plan. Israel defended itself, and for many years thereafter, the surrounding nations continued to deny Israel's existence and sought to destroy Israel. Israel has always aspired to coexist peacefully with its Arab neighbors, and still aims to do so today. However, there has been a systematic effort to destroy Israel, including the constant fire of rockets pointing at Israel from both north and south, with as many as 70 rockets in the past week falling on the city road. That adds up to a cycle of violence between Israel and its neighbors. Numerous terrorists have sought to inflict as much collateral damage as possible, despite Israel's continued pursuit of peace and coexistence. Israel offered 5 separate times to withdraw from the West Bank and end this conflict in 1947, 1967, 1968, 2000, and 2008. Palestinians have not only rejected every single one of these offers, but have met each offer with violence. I feel it is important to acknowledge that I can only begin to imagine how humiliating the realities are between the territories in Israel because of the wall and checkpoints. But it is important to remember that they are built for a reason. This is a defensive wall, placed there to save the lives of all inhabitants of the state of Israel, and has successfully done that. Since these security measures were put in place, deaths due to suicide bombings and terrorism have decreased by 90%. It is not that Israel wants to have a wall, but history has made one imperative to safety. Israel's so-called human rights violations pale in comparison with those of Russia, Belarus, Turkey, China, India, Sri Lanka, Algeria, Iraq, Syria, Hezbollah, Pakistan, Mali, and perhaps 30 different African states. To single out Israel for criticism and divestment makes no sense other than on the grounds of prior bias. Lastly, BDS serves only as an impediment to current efforts for peace by Secretary of State John Kerry that will require major compromises for both sides of this conflict. We should be investing in bringing people together rather than polarizing this campus and tearing people apart. Even Mahmoud Abbas, president of the Palestinian Authority, has spoken against BDS. Lastly, as a student government, it is not our place to be debating such issues. It is our job to improve the lives of students on campus. I feel as though we have made huge strides this year in doing so. However, debating a conflict that has been going on for years in another part of the world does not align with our goals. There is no way that we can represent the entire interest of the students at our university in taking a stance on this issue. Thank you.
Thank you, Ellie. Next on the agenda is committee reports, and there are no committee reports. Next is the election and recall of members, and there are no recall members. Next on the agenda is new business, resolution AR3-052, a resolution to amend the winter 2014 Central Student Government budget. The authors, you have 10 minutes to introduce your resolution.
All right, we are at the end of our term with elections coming up next weekend, or this week. That being said, I haven't received any requests for any funds, and we currently have all this money being unspent. So the logical thing to do is move to SOPSI, as Poppy said. SOPSI is being severely under budgeted, while we took an increase to our budget. So this budget, or this resolution simply allocates all of those funds being spent into SOPSI, and we will have more updated numbers for our commission discretionary fund by next week, and then that's when we'll stop receiving requests from our commission. So that's all I have to say.
Thank you, Vivian.
These funds will be, when we pass it next Tuesday, they will be transferred. Automatic transfer.
Okay, thank you, Vivian. Next, we have up to 15 minutes for questions about the resolution. So if any of you have questions, now would be the time. Adrian?
I would talk to us in Finance Committee, and then we can see what we do from the Commission discretionary account and earmark that money. But I think from the legislative at this point, since elections are happening next week, that money has to be zeroed out.
Ray?
Yeah, you have to have a resolution next week. Okay, we'll talk in Finance Committee about that.
Okay, Ray, thanks.
I was just wondering how this would impact what Michael was talking about earlier with the $2 increase, how those, if those would interact. No, it wouldn't. This is just for this semester, and I mean, this is precedent, this is typical protocol. We typically zero out all of our funds into SASC at the end of the semester. No, it's totally.
Any further questions?
It's just more of a general question about like SOFC. Like, if we transition this money into the SOFC account, like how many student loans are applying to that money in the time frame for the next budget?
Four more days left, so I spread a few times for approximately $10,000 over those days.
As of right now, we have approximately $60,000 left. We're still calculating lower from the acres.
So there's going to be sufficient funds left for student loans to apply.
As a follow-up, for those student loans who have applied, I mean, I've never been SOFC, but for those student loans who applied in the past and they denied for a year and running out of funds, are they eligible to like reapply at this point?
There are certain circumstances where they will be tested.
Do you still elaborate a little bit?
So we have the A, B, and C set in each of those, and there are more ways to meet them. So if they were denied or a specific cost, they could not reapply for it within the remaining 8 weeks, but they could reapply for it within B weeks or C weeks.
And do all those ways exist within the time frame of reallocating this money now before the elections?
C weeks. So kind of truncated into semester 1 at A and B. So there's only 1 and B weeks left.
So just to like make sure
that was due to circumstances behind it.
So all of yours who have already applied for like A and B funding are technically eligible to apply for B funding, also like B grade funding. Should they? So it depends on if a group is awarded full funding, then no, they're not eligible to apply for the same costs. Certain costs are eligible for B-Way and relief. It depends on whether they were awarded them and not. But general answer is yes. If you were not awarded funding A, you can apply for B, less than circumstances that are not the circumstances. Thank you.
Are there any further questions? Okay, now is the time for 1-minute comments on how to improve the resolution. Ready? Okay, then I will refer this resolution to the Finance Committee. Okay, the next item on the agenda. So the next item on the agenda is the old business. So first we have AR3-048, a resolution to support the National Athletic Council's 20th Annual Step Show. The authors have 10 minutes to introduce.
Hello. Okay, so the only things we changed from last week after meeting with the Finance Committee is line 33, that the Assembly allocate 2,000 from the legislative discretionary, and line 36, that there be a liaison between CSG and the National Panhellenic Council for this event. And line 38, we also added that says the Central Student Government logo be displayed on banners, t-shirts, and promotional flyers for the event. So those are the only changes.
Okay, now is the time for clarifying questions. Okay, then we can go ahead, Julia. Thank you, Alex.
How will this relate to the bill that was just recently on new business that affected the commission?
So that amount is factored in this earmark, this 3,375 or 3,575. That's factored in the 2,000 earmark, saying that we didn't pass it. So if we didn't pass it, we'd actually have 5,575 unspent in our account, and then that would go to SOPSI. Yeah.
Any further questions? Okay, now is the time for amendments. Are there any amendments on the floor? Okay, then we'll go into the third reading. Would you like to reintroduce it all? Okay, then if there are no objections to voting, are there any? Okay, then we'll go straight to a vote on the resolution. So the Vice Speaker will call the roll. Your options are yes, no, yes with rights, no with rights, pass, or abstain.
All right, we are voting on AR 3-048, a resolution to support the National Panhellenic Council's 20th annual STEP show. Pavitra Abraham. Vivian Abraham. Jacob Abudara. Ismail Ali. Ben Alterman. John Arnold. Adrian Bazbaz. Noah Bettman. Sarah Brennan. Andrew Kraft. Annika Conrad. Jared Ferguson. Kelsey Hoffman. Nathan Immerman. Justin Coleman. Chip Koziara. Matthew Lau. John Lynn. Sorry, what was that? Justin Lockhart. Carly Manis. Ramon Martinez. Abstaining. Chris Mays. Tyler Mesman. Andy Modell. Samuel Molnar. Daniel Morales. Ellie Newman. Annie Pigeon. Jacob Hodel. Skylar Purcell. Jody Ramos. Jasmine Randanoa. Nick Reinhardt. Jacob Ruby. Ian Salas. Emily Sexton. Ray Sievers. Swati Shah. Meredith Starkman. Irene Sa. Greg Terry.
With 31 yeses, 1 no, and 2 abstentions, this resolution passes. The next item on the agenda is AR 3-050, a resolution for the University of Michigan to divest from socially irresponsible companies that violate Palestinian human rights. So the first part is an introduction by the authors.
You have Speaker, I move to postpone this question indefinitely.
Okay, all in favor of postponing this question indefinitely? Please raise your hand. We need a simple majority. I need you to raise your hand very high. And okay, so the motion to postpone the resolution indefinitely means that it will be leaving the assembly today. Yeah, so I'm going to yield to the chair of the Rules Committee to explain.
So pursuant to the 11th point of the Roberts Rules of Order, which according to the Constitution we abide to along with the compiled code of the operating procedures, the motion to postpone indefinitely means that when a resolution is brought to second and third reads, if it passes by majority vote, then the resolution will not be reintroduced, will not be discussed, and cannot be reintroduced as a new resolution.
Okay, so that is out of order. Please stop. Yes, point of information. Yes, we can move into debate on this issue. Okay, so now we are in debate. So we're in debate on the motion to postpone the question indefinitely. So I need typical speakers to have the thumbs up. So all in favor? Yes. No, so I'm looking for speakers who want to speak in favor of the motion to postpone indefinitely. So I need your thumbs up. John, Chris, Ben, are there any further? Jacob? Anyone further? Okay, and all opposed to the motion? Sam? Dan? Tyler? Ray? Irene? Anyone else? Okay, we'll begin with John. And John, you have 3 minutes.
Hopefully the items related to global conflicts belong on this assembly's agenda. I think that this is best left to policymakers and foreign policy experts, not this assembly. We're here to serve the students of the University of Michigan and to improve campus life. This resolution goes beyond that bounds and wades into a conflict that we do not have proper information or even jurisdiction over. Therefore, I forcefully ask this assembly to not discuss, to not approve moving on to this resolution.
Okay, so speaker is Sam. Sam, you have 3 minutes, and could you please grab the microphone? Thank you, Alex.
So we often talk about how we want CSG to be relevant to the students, and to my knowledge, this is the first time that we've had hundreds of students come to us. And that's
This is the third offense. So this is the third offense. The next one, actually, if this is the third offense, then that's lost speaking privileges at the next meeting. So I don't want to have to give any more. Please maintain decorum. Okay, well that will be your 4th offense. So you will not be allowed to be here for the next 2 meetings. Okay, stand up. We pause time for that.
This resolution isn't asking us to wade into a geopolitical conflict and find out how to end it. It's asking us to take a stance on the United States corporations that our university is already invested in. Unfortunately, we don't have the privilege to not take a stance on this issue. Our university already has taken a stance on this issue by being invested in these companies. And our constituents, who are standing in front of you, have asked us, as their elected representatives, to have a debate and vote on this resolution that they brought to us. And we owe that to them. That's all I have.
Okay, the next speaker is Chris.
All right, just to say, I echo John Lynn's concerns that this is a very divisive issue. As you can see that there are people both on the Palestine side and Israel side that are here. We need to make it, we are the Central Student Government, we're not the United Nations. This is not our area to debate about, and this is something that we need to toss out permanently. We're willing to hear all of this, but we already heard these concerns before. At every CSG assembly, we run this every year, so we need to bring this into a peaceful closure. This is not our goal.
Okay, the next speaker is Dan. You have 3 minutes.
I want to echo the concerns shared by Sam and the notion that we could allow all of these people to show up and share with us their stories and then do absolutely nothing, not even debate, discuss, disclose how we feel about the issue because we're afraid or we're uninformed. If you're uninformed, let that be known. If you're afraid, let that be known. But if you have a firm stance, take that stance. And allow us who have made up our minds to take that stance as well. I think it's disrespectful to us in the assembly who have taken the time to get educated on this issue and have made up their mind and know very well how they want their money invested. I think it's disrespectful to us to then sit here and tell us that we can't have a discussion. After I had almost 800 students turn out and vote for me, 800 students that turn out and vote for you, Chris, 800 students that turn out and vote for you, Carly. Every single one of your representatives came out.
That is out of order. Just now. That's okay.
But I think the least we can do is let this go to baby. We've already allowed all these students here. We allowed us to come out of commission or the committee. So I think that at this point it's time for us to have a debate and let our views be known and allow our students to hear our voice. I don't think it's our place to silence them, and I don't think it's anyone's place to simply to silence other representatives either. So I think we should move forward with the debate.
Okay, the next speaker is Ben.
I want to make very clear the question in front of us for this motion. What we are looking at right now is a question as to whether or not we want to choose a side in a moral conflict that has had travesty committed by both parties. When a moral conflict has such terrifying behavior committed on both parts, to choose one side over the other further inflames such conflict. My goal is for every child to wake up and not wonder if the sound overhead is a rocket flying, to not wonder if the sound down the road is a bulldozer coming. My goal is for every child, everywhere, to wake up and smile because they can walk to school, because they can walk to a hospital, because they can walk to a beach, because they know that their best friend is still alive. My goal is to choose peace. Not one side, not the other, but peace. Take a third option and step outside of the currently existing confines of the debate. The motion to suspend indefinitely asks us to step outside of the conflict and look for a third choice. Thank you.
That is out of order. That will be your 4th offense, which means you are at this time asked to leave the meeting. Whoever just made that comment. Okay, the next speaker is Tyler. Okay, sorry, this is out of order. So the next speaker is Tyler. Tyler, can someone pass the mic to Tyler, please? You have 3 minutes.
Okay. So as we all know, tensions are very high tonight, quite obviously. I'm going to be honest, I'm still conflicted on this issue. I really don't understand. But being a superintendent for 3 years, this is the largest student response to anything I've ever seen. Besides the student football ticket policy, which I think is a little bit of a fix anyway. So I think as a student government, regardless of how we feel about this issue, regardless of how informed we are on this issue, whether or not we're afraid to make a vote. It really is a disservice to the students who gave us the power to even cast a vote, either in March or the November elections. We represent 800 students here, and well, yes, as an individual, we each represent 800 students, right? And those people also have conflicting opinions. They may be afraid of it. They may know where they stand, they may not know where they stand. But this issue has been brought to us so that we can discuss it. And I think that to say that we are just like not even going to consider it whatsoever, knowing like what's at stake, I think is just highly inappropriate. I think we should vote how you feel or don't feel, or whether you know or you don't know on this issue. We need to vote, essentially. I think it's inappropriate that we don't vote. Like, we've been given the power to vote. We're standing here on the other side of this line here, while hundreds of people are over there asking us to vote on it, and they don't know how it's going to go. We don't know how it's going to go. But we need to vote.
Okay, the next speaker is Jacob.
So I think that we need to think about what the long-term solution to the Israeli-Palestinian conflict is. That is quite clearly a two-state solution. There is no debating that. And the only way that that's going to happen is through direct negotiations between Israelis and Palestinians. And that's what we have now. That's what's going on. That's why John Kerry just made his 12th visit to the Middle East in the last year, to be there to solve this conflict. And it is our responsibility to support him, to write a letter like that, which is on page 6 of the packet that we were given by the first speaker. It is our responsibility to invest in peace and not divest from Israel. And with regards to holding the university accountable for its investments, I'm all for it. I think that is something that's important. But you can't contextualize it within the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, because there's not consensus on campus about that. You have a responsibility to serve your students. When there's no clear consensus, you cannot vote for this resolution. Thank you.
The last reciprocal speaker is Ray. Ray, you'll have 3 minutes.
So I've heard a lot that the role of the CSG is not to get involved in this, and I agree wholeheartedly that we have no ability to resolve the conflict in Israel whatsoever, and this resolution is not even hinting or suggesting or intimating in any way that anything the CSG does directly influences what will happen. All this resolution is asking for is that the CSG consider the evidence that our students have come to us with a concern that they believe is reasonable, and they want it to be brought to our attention, and they want their voices heard. They just want their voices to be heard. And they want the administration not to divest from Israel, not to punish Israel, not to take a stance against Israel, but to simply investigate if they are complicit in human rights violations on either side, and to act appropriately. And the specifics of this resolution is presenting evidence that is mostly human rights violations that target Palestinians. That's the case. But that doesn't mean that this assembly can remain open-minded to talk about this issue from the other side. I think if we vote to remove this indefinitely, we are killing our opportunity to really get both sides. I've heard pleas that we haven't been presenting the issue fairly, that there's not enough evidence on the other side, and this debate is one-sided. If we don't allow this issue to go forward now and have this discussion, it never will balance out. And as far as being divisive, we are already divided. If that wasn't the case, these students would not all be here. And I urge you to consider that, how they might feel if we ignore them. And I would like to reiterate Sam's point that the university, in choosing to invest in certain multinational corporations, has already taken a side. And I'm not talking about a side on the conflict. They are being willing to be complicit in possible human rights violations. We are just asking the university to remove itself from a position. We are trying to move back to neutrality and have dialogue.
And now to Irene. There are no further reciprocal speakers, so you have 1 minute. Yes, you can.
Okay. I just have to say, I'm very disappointed. Chris, John, all due respect, we're not asking you to be the UN. We're not asking you to take a position on Israel-Palestine. What we're asking you is to take a position on how our university invests our money. I want to ask you, as victors of the world, what message does it send when we are invested in human rights violations? What message does it send to the Palestinian students before you who have shared their narratives, who are directly impacted by the activities engaged by these corporations? Now, I'm not asking you to be the UN, I'm asking you to be CSG. And as CSG, it is your job to represent students' concerns and debate them. Look at the crowd above you, in front of you. Can everyone here for divestment please stand up?
Stand up silently.
You have over 200 people over here. And if you do not debate this, you're not only silencing them, you are silencing over 36 student organizations that have signed their support.
Meredith, I added you to the speakers list for in opposition to the motion. You can be neutral if you'd like, if you would like to speak in favor or in opposition. Okay. Shield back, okay. And Andy, did you want to speak for 1 minute?
Yes. Okay. Yeah, so I raised this issue with several of my constituents over the past week. This is a large issue. There are a large number of people here. On North Campus, almost unanimously, my constituents stated that they thought it was either silly or irresponsible for us to be focusing on this issue at the Central Student Government. They stated that they wanted us to look at student issues more as opposed to these large international issues. I yield.
Okay, Ismail, you have 1 minute. He yields to Ben. Ben, you have 1 minute.
And I'm going to yield to Yusuf Baraka, please.
Sir, you have 1 minute.
How much do you know about the suffering of those who lived in Nazi Germany? What do you really know about the suffering of the Palestinian people?
You have 50 seconds from when you begin.
Be careful with that. What do you really know about the suffering of the Palestinian people? What makes you think that you can alleviate the suffering of one people by causing the suffering of a totally innocent people? Why do you believe what you have been told that allows you to ignore the obvious human suffering in Palestine? What part of occupation do you not understand? What makes you think that there is justification in imprisoning innocent children, women, and men without cause? What makes you think that any government, any religion, or any society can steal people's land, demolish their homes, imprison them, exile them, and kill them with impunity? What possible excuse do you have for denying innocent people their civil and economic human rights? Why, at your young age, do you feel obligated to enforce this violation of human rights and continue the death and suffering of innocent people? One Holocaust does not.
I'm sorry, time has expired.
Holocaust does not.
I'm sorry, time has expired.
I am a 78-year-old Palestinian refugee.
I'm sorry, this is a violation. This will be your first offense.
You can be 100.
This will be your second offense.
It is your duty, your moral obligation, and your responsibility ethically for the end of occupation and making one land for all people.
Sir,
one land for all people. It's time you really think about that.
Okay, I'm sorry, sir. So, yes, Chip, do you have a point of order for the information? Yes, you can be added to the list. Okay, just quickly, the signs again need to be at the back of the room as they're obstructing the view in the gallery. And if everyone could please sit down to fill as many seats as we have, this is distracting to the assembly for everyone to be standing. Okay, the next speaker is Chip. You have 1 minute. Time has been yielded.
My name is Noah. I'm a Palestinian student on this campus. I just want to say that time and time again as a Palestinian, I have been silenced. I've been silenced at this university, I've been silenced outside of this university. But today was the day that I thought my student government, the government that I elected, was going to listen to me, was going to listen to Nicole, was going to listen to Ahmad, was going to listen to Sam, and to the Palestinian students on this campus. We were given a platform. We are supposed to be given a platform to speak in this room, and the clothes are being shot in our face. The doors are being shut in our face. So I'm asking the CSG to give us an opportunity to say what we need to say and to listen, and then make a decision. Thank you.
Okay. Kelsey, would you like to be added to the list? Yes. You have 1 minute. Can we get a microphone passed? We have one. Thank you. Kelsey, you have 1 minute.
Okay, I just want to speak to that, and I do want to say that I feel so much compassion, I feel some sentiment, and I agree with the sentiment behind this resolution. I think from where I stand, though, I don't know that this resolution is the best long-term answer. I don't want to silence you. I want to hear you, and I like listening to you, and I appreciate you coming, and I think I can say that for a lot of representatives. And I don't want to say that this resolution, I want to, just throw it away and never look at it. I just don't know that this is the best resolution. That's what a resolution is supposed to amend things. It's supposed to make things better. I think that we want to do it in a positive way and not something that might be negative in the long-term run. And I don't know that this is the best way. That's the only thing. And I do want to listen to you. And that's why we are here. And that's why I feel like I was elected. And that is important to me. And I don't want you to feel like we are trying to shut you up or shut you up.
Okay, Adrian, would you like to be added? Okay, you have 1 minute.
Hello. Okay, so just to be fair, we were given 1 week to figure out what we thought about this resolution. We were given 1 week to find out what our constituents thought, and to be honest, I don't think it's fair. As you said, I really want to listen to all of you. I'm willing to stay here all night and really have a discussion about it. But I cannot tell you I can make a fair decision on this so controversial issue. That's what I have to say.
Do any representatives wish to speak further? Okay. So we need a second on that one. And all in favor of moving to the previous question, so that is ending debate. This is a motion, so question to table this resolution indefinitely. So right now we're going to vote on moving the previous question, meaning that we will be ending debate. So we have a second. All in favor of ending debate on John's original motion? Okay. I need to see your hands high. Okay, so the motion to move to the previous question passes. So at this time, we will vote on John's motion. Okay, and at this time, we will vote on postponing the motion indefinitely. Okay, so, sorry, resolution, yeah. And, okay, so at this time, we have a second already, so now all in favor, please raise your hand. Oh, a voice vote? Oh, a roll call vote, okay. Okay, we need 4 seconds. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so then we need to vote on that motion. Okay, so now we will go to a roll call vote on this. Okay, so the motion again is to postpone the resolution indefinitely. So when you hear your name, your options are yes, no, yes with rights, no with rights, pass, or abstain. Sorry? Okay, what is your motion? So that is out of order, so that's not a motion that we can make. Yes, you have a question? So yeah, you'll be answer to. So that won't be included on the business of this meeting, but that can be established at a separate time with a separate resolution or something along those lines. But there's no valid motion. I mean, if you would like to stay after, it won't be moderated and it won't be following protocols. Okay, so roll call vote. So again, your options are yes, yes, point of information. Yes, you are right. So I'll go through the options again. The options are yes, no, yes with rights, no with rights, pass, or abstain. When you hear your name, please say your vote.
All right, so the question is to a vote in favor would be to postpone this resolution indefinitely. Pavitra Abraham, Vivian Abraham, Jacob Abudara, Ismail Ali, Ben Alterman, John Arnold, Adrian Vazquez, Noah Benton, Sarah Brennan, Andrew Kraft, Annika Conrad, Jared Ferguson, Kelsey Hoffman, Nathan Immerman, Justin Kohler, Chip Koziara, Matthew Lau, John Lynn, Justin Lockerman. What was that? Carly Manis, Ramon Martinez, pass. Chris Mays, Tyler Besman, Andy Modell, Samuel Monar, Daniel Morales, Ellie Newman, Annie Pigeon, Jacob Odell, Skylar Purcell, Jody Ramos, Jasmine Rondalo, Nick Reinhardt, Jacob Ruby, Ian Salas, Emily Sexton, Ray Severs, Swati Shan, Meredith Starkman, Irene Sub, Greg Terry. All right, we're going through the passes. Ben Alterman, Noah Beckman, Annika Conrad, Jared Ferguson, Kelsey Hoffman, Nathan Immerman, John Lynn, Ramon Martinez, yes. Ellie Newman, yes, sorry. Annie Pigeon, Jacob Bodell,
With 21 yeses, 15 noes, and 1 abstention, the motion passes. So this resolution has been postponed indefinitely.
Sure.
So at this time, we will go to those who voted no with rights. So first is Sam. You will have 1 minute to speak.
I just want to say I'm really disappointed in the decision that most of you made today. Look how many students came here behind you just for you to open your gate on And if you actually read the resolution, it does not take a stance for how to include the issue. All it does is says to investigate our investments in unethical and injustices.
I also want to say that you're not only silencing the people who came here today, over 36 student organizations. In addition to these, 36 student organizations, including Black Student Union, Coalition for Student Equality, Amnesty International, Human Rights Through Education, all voted in support of this divestment resolution. And about the peace process, explain to me how removing your investments from human rights violations can ever lead to peace.
Okay, the next speaker is Dan. Dan, you'll have 1 minute.
I just want to say that I'm a little bit overcome with the emotions of just discomfort and disappointment with this assembly generally. I've been on this assembly since I was a freshman. I ran as a freshman because I was a member of the Coalition for Tuition Equality and I wanted to join the body that I knew had power to make a difference. And I watched international issues, controversial issues, all sorts of issues brought to this assembly, and I brought them to this assembly myself. So I want to say to you all who came today that your fight is not here anyways. Clearly this body was never ready to have a discussion about this issue to begin with. Remember the names of the representatives who voted no. Remember the names of the people who know that they did not support you. And know that they did not support you, not for good reason, not for good argument, not for rationale, not for common sense, but because of the faith and everything.
the next speaker is America. Can you make a motion? What is the motion? Move into closed session. Do we have a second? All in favor? What's your motion? Okay, so hello. Okay, so voting on the motion to go into closed session. So all in favor of moving into closed session, please raise your hand. All opposed? Oh, you withdrew the motion. Okay. Okay, Meredith, you have 1 minute.
I think this is a very difficult piece of legislation for us as a body to look at because it doesn't involve daily campus life as we see it via activities. But I think it is very obviously meaningful to a great number of students on campus, and I think by passing this motion, we're ostensibly taking a stance on the bill. And I think that we all should have been obviously brave enough to vote for it. And by arguing yes or no, by passing it or rejecting it. And I think that if we're arguing that it shouldn't be our power, we could have abstained. I think that we should have voted up this one.
Okay, and the last speaker is Noah. No. Can I pass down another one?
Whether or not, whatever side you fall on this issue, whether you thought it was going to pass or fail, it doesn't matter. The fact is that there were numerous opportunities for this to not even be put on the agenda. There were several hoops to jump through. It's here. I don't understand why at this point, after several times, it could have not been here if it was not our job to discuss it, why it was even here in the first place. The fact that it is, I think we should have debated. I think it would have been beneficial.
Okay, time is done for discussing the motion and votes. Okay, so the next agenda is motions and other business. I'm sorry, we're still that is out of order. Vivian, do you have a motion? Not yet. This is the time for motions and other business. Do any assembly members have any motions on the floor? Okay, now it is time for announcements and announcements. Oh, did you pass? I'm sorry, this is entirely out of order. Kelsey is making a motion. Okay, I'm going to have to ask you all to leave the assembly or the gallery if we're going to continue to distract the assembly. Kelsey, this is the time for your motion. Could you use a microphone, actually? Someone has it. Is this a motion? It can be an announcement, actually, for what you're saying. Okay.
Divest!